Hey everybody, it's Angel from Halo Inspirations. We give you inspirations to help you spread beauty and joy through your quilting journey. Happy hump day to you. Happy hump day to you. Happy hump day. Happy Wednesday. Hope I'm finding you well and in great spirits. What is today? Today we have done a red and white Hunter's Star. Isn't she glorious? She is fantastic. So I've always wanted to do a Hunter Star, but you know, a lot of the patterns are a lot of half square triangles with a lot of seams. I didn't want that. They waste a lot of fabric. Didn't want that because they're kind of fabric intense. So this was a couple of methods that I blended together to form my own method on how to do this Hunter's Star. So the Hunter Star. Well, I will tell you, personally, this is not a beginner-friendly type of pattern. Although I did not do a whole bunch of half square triangles, which I think beginners can do fine with half square triangles, there are a lot of angles. And you gotta be on with your 1/4 inch seam. That will help you immensely and your pressing methods, because we are pressing angles. There's just a lot in here that I don't encourage a beginner. However, if you're anything like me and you're an ambitious beginner like I was, I went big or went home, because the first one I did, I missed points, I missed all kinds of stuff. You go. I just want to warn you that I don't feel like this is a beginner-friendly pattern. Now, also, I have seen this done in foundation paper piecing, and I'm thinking about doing a different colorway where there's a whole bunch of different colors involved. And I'll do a foundation paper piecing one at that point. So I didn't want to do that this time because I know a lot of you aren't quite sure about foundation paper piecing. So I wanted to do regular piecing first and come up with a method where we didn't waste as much fabric and not have a lot of seams. So there's a lot of cutting and a lot of sewing, but I don't have a lot of half square triangles in here, okay? So next time I'll do foundation paper piecing, and I'll release that block for you in foundation paper piecing when I go to do it. It'll be a little while, need a break from this, but we look forward to that. But saying that, what are we going to need for piecing this? Well, I will tell you for each color. So I've only done 2 colors, which, by the way, this is Scarlet Stitches and White Linen. It's part of the collection. The red is from Henry Glass & Co. And this one's Red Vines. Super cute, super love it. And the white, I actually use Soft White Butterflies, which is from Maywood Studio, and it's part of the Solitaire Whites collection. And so I've blended 2 different collections for you. Red Vines, Scarlet Stitches and White Linen, Henry Glass & Co. Soft White Butterflies, Maywood Studio, part of the Solitaire Whites collection. So that's the fabric that I used for this, and it is in the shop. For each color, if you were to cut and sew everything perfect, 2 3/4 is exactly what you'd need. I went ahead and pulled 3 yards each. That extra 1/4 yard, out of my red, I made a lot of mistakes in cutting, so I ended up using all of it. I have very little left. The white I did much better. I have about a 1/4, a little less than a 1/4 left. So I just want to warn you, it does say perfectly cut, perfectly sewn, perfect, everything perfect, 2 1/4. That makes me nervous, but just want to heads up for each. So I did 3 yards of the white and 3 yards of the red. That's what I used. For backing, once you're done, this will finish at 58 1/4 before the binding, okay? 58 1/4 before the binding, so you will need 3 1/4 yard for the backing. And that's without overage. I don't know how much overage you'd need, so I'm not calculating that. So without overage, it's 3 1/4, and your binding will take another 1/2 yard, and that's considering that you're doing a 2.5 inch strip for your binding. That'll be another 1/2 yard. So those are the things that you're going to need. And of course, your ruler and your rotary cutter and your sewing machine. I did not use anything special, no special tool. I know there's a million ways to do a Hunter Star. There really is a lot of different methods to do this, to include really cool specialty rulers, but I did not. Most of the time I used the Big Easy, and which is 12.5 by 24.5 inch ruler by Creative Grids, and a 12.5 inch square ruler by Creative Grids. That basically is what I use for the most part. Okay, so yeah, now you don't have to memorize any of that, guys, because as usual, I'm giving you a supply list in the list of inspirations on our website. The link is down below. It's just a supply list. It's not a pattern. I'm also supplying a coloring sheet. So if you want to play with color, once you understand how to build the block, if you want to play with color, you're going to be able to do that. Or maybe quilting it. You'll be able to sketch out some of your quilting that you'd like to do. I will say, and when I bring you in, you're going to see this up close, but your actual block is this one. Okay, that is the block, and when you put all 4 of them together, that's what forms this star. Okay, so I wanted you to understand that this is not the block. That's what happens due to this block. Okay, so you can play with colors on a coloring sheet, and once you understand how to construct that block, you'll be able to figure out exactly how to get that lined up to get the beautiful colorway that you would love to have. So I think that's it. Again, that link is down below, so get yourself some free things. Let's have at it. And I'll see you guys in just a sec. This is exactly what we're going to be making. This is what the finished block looks like. And as you can see, we've got the arrows here. These are going to form your stars, and these are going to form your 4 patches. So how do we do that? Well, I will be honest, we're going to make 4 at a time. You'll want to take 2 of your 6.5 inch squares in your light color and 6.5 inch squares in your dark color. Okay. Then with the white, you're going to want to use also 4 6.5 by 2.5 inch strips of the dark color to go with the white, and 4 6.5 by 10.5 for the white. For the darker one, or for my red it is, you'll need 4 6.5 by 2.5 inch white strips and 4 2.5 by 10.5 inch strips. Now what I have done, I actually chained pieced, but you take your first 6.5 inch block, and first what I did is I sewed the 2.5 inch strips together. Make sure they are right sides together. Sew your 1/4 inch seam. Go ahead, and when you press it for the dark block in the center, you're going to press towards the center. Okay, I'm going to show you this in just a second. Same up here, so you're going to press towards it. Now once these are actually sewn together, at that point I added my 10.5 inch strips. Now it doesn't look like it fits because we have the 1/4 inch seam that still needs to be done, but I add the 2 short first, and then you add the 2 long. Again, press into the center with your dark. Okay, so with the dark one, you'll press towards the center. You'll make 2 of those, and then with the white one, here, I'll just put it down like so. I don't even know which side's right now. I think that side's right. Okay. It's hard to tell. There are butterflies on here. It's so cute. Then you're going to take, with the white, you'll take, for each white, you'll use 2 6.5 by 2.5. You'll sew those on, and when you press this, again, go towards the dark. So press out on the white ones. After you get the 2 shorter ones on, then you'll be able to add the 2.5 by 10.5 inch strips onto it. Okay, again, with the white in the center or your light color, you're going to press out, and with the red center, you're going to want to press in. So always press for this part towards the dark. Okay, now I'll do those particular blocks off camera, but I want to show you what you'll end up with. So here is, let me move all this out of the way here. Okay, here is, I'm missing a block. There we go. This is, I got strings everywhere. I know it, guys. Okay, this is what you'll end up with. So I have the two short strips are here. The 2 long strips are up here. So you'll have one that looks like this. Well, actually you'll have 2 that look like that. And you'll have 2 that look like this before we hit the next step. Okay, now this should measure at 10.5 inch squared. I was going to show you specifically, but I'm going to throw a picture up here. Whenever you do, and the reason is because I'm getting a nice glare, and all it's going to do is frustrate you. So when you line up, and there's a picture here, what you want to notice, I haven't squared this one up, so bear with it, but you will notice that this edge will measure, you want to line it up so that this is in the center, and this edge will line up at 2 1/4, the seam line. This one will be 8 1/4, this one will be 8 1/4, and this one will be 2 1/4. That way you can see how square your square is. And I do believe for this one, looking at it, you'll see a little wonkiness over here a little bit. And that's because of the way I sewed it. I'm going to leave it and hide it in the seam instead of cutting it. I think if I cut it, I might go a little crazy, and that'll happen for you sometimes. Okay. And it's okay, but it's nice to be very square with this, and you'll see why in here in just a second. Now, so each one of these, both the white with the dark outside and the dark with the light outside, every single one of these should measure 10.5 squared. Okay, so you should have 10.5 inch squares. Now we're going to go ahead and go to the next step, and I'm going to take you into the sewing machine here in a little bit, but I'm going to show you what we're going to do. You're now going to take those 4 7-inch squares. Now, what I want to point out, okay, if you'll notice, I've got white. That's because my white is in the center. Okay, so each white centered square will need 4 7-inch squares. I'm going to show you in just a second what you're going to do with those. No, for each square, I am lying to you. For each square, you're going to need 2 7-inch squares. Okay, we've made 2 of these, and we've made 2 of these. Okay, the ones with the dark center, you'll need 2 7-inch squares to go with those. For each square, you're going to need to do that. Now, you should have 36 total. So you should have, by the end of all, if you do the same size I do, 18 of these and 18 of these. Okay. And for each of them, matched to the center, you'll need 2 7-inch squares. So what are we going to do with those? This is where the fun starts, guys. This is where the fun starts. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do on the wrong side of the fabric, remember I've got the white here, so I'm using the white. Oh, you're going to see a glare. This will be fun. All right, I got to figure out lighting very soon. What you're going to do is you're going to line up your ruler and you're gonna draw a line down the middle, okay, from corner to corner. That's the first thing you're gonna do. For each 7-inch square, you're gonna draw corner to corner. Okay. I am using my disappearing, I think it's made by Dritz. Don't quote me on that, but I do believe that I sell them in the it's all worn out, so I can't read it. They're in the shop, but this is a water soluble, air soluble marker, so it's going to disappear. All right, the next thing, after I've drawn corner to corner, I'm going to lay my ruler back down, and I'm going to go an inch from that line that I drew. So I'm lining this up right along that line, okay? And then I'm going to draw another line, an inch away, okay? Trying to make it nice and dark. I wanted to use the white so you could see those lines better. So I've gone corner to corner, and then an inch away, another one, okay? What's going to happen is we're going to place these in the corners, and it's important that you put them the correct direction. Right sides are facing together, okay? And you're going to have the corner to corner line going to the points towards the outside, and that inch line going towards this corner, okay? So it's very important that you line these up correctly. Corner to corner, and that extra inch line that we drew goes towards the outside, okay? And you'll do this for 2 of them. So I will draw, we'll just go ahead and get her done. First we do corner to corner on the wrong side of the fabric. Okay. And you want to make sure that your pen is actually hitting, or your marking tool is actually hitting the corner. So mine's slightly over because I really want to be able to hit that corner with my marking tool. Okay. Then we're going to go 1 inch over, line up that line that you just drew, go corner to corner. Okay. And an inch away, you'll draw your second line. All right. Now, believe it or not, I am going to use pins. And the reason is because we're messing with angles. And I want to make sure that my angle is good. But see this one, okay, we want the corner to corner to go along the outside edge here with the extra inch line along here. Okay, towards the outside of the block. So here's my corner to corner, touching each edge. So what I mean is, you don't want to do that, okay? And you want to make sure that this is going towards the outside and not towards the middle, okay? That won't work. So you'll be having a date with Jack. All right, so you're going to have 2 of them, just like this, for every block. So opposite corners, you're going to line them up just like so, okay? Now I'm going to go, like I said, I'm going to go ahead and pin them. And grab some pins here. And I'm going to show you how I actually do this. I don't want a whole lot of shifting. Oh, this is that one I haven't squared yet, but that's okay. I can still demonstrate for you. I'm going to leave that up a little. All right. Actually, I'll do the other corner because the other corner is fine. So go here. We want the extra inch going towards the outside. Very good. Okay. All right. So the first thing I do is I go ahead and tack this corner. Very simple. We're not even going to sew up here, but I don't want a whole lot of shifting going on. I want this to be as close to perfect as humanly possible. Remember, we're not machines. And then I'm going to pin next to this line. Okay, now I'm going to try and give myself enough space, which it's plenty, because we're actually going to sew down, sort of down this line, okay? And I'll explain here in a minute. but then I'm going to take my pin and I'm actually going to pin the other side. All right. I do like to pin here also, and believe it or not, I do like to pin here also. This is what I have found has been the most successful. And then I'm going to pin the same way I did the other side, although because I'm right-handed, I'm going to make sure your fabrics are lined up. I'm going to go the opposite direction. There we go. All right, now using my little purple thing, I'll also do this to the other side, okay? But I tend to chain piece, so I'm gonna do this to two reds and two whites, one side each for now, okay? And I'll show you here in a little bit. But we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna sew right next to, okay, this is the corner to corner. I'm going to do that one first. So I'm going to sew right next to this line towards this side. This is a part we're going to end up cutting. So I'm going to sew on the side that we're going to cut. I'm going to try to get as close as I can next to it. It's much better if you don't have a camera in your face to do this, but I'm going to try and sew right next to it on this side of the line, okay? Right along here towards the cut. Now, I am going to check it with you, and I'm going to show you how to check it. And I would suggest to check it every time before you sew the next line. That way, if you've messed up, you don't have two lines to rip. You only have one. However, when I go to sew with this line, I am going to sew it, and I'm going to sew along this edge right here, going towards the middle here, okay? So down this line along this edge, down this line along that edge, okay? So I am going to bring you in to the sewing machine so you can actually watch me do this. I'll see you guys in just a sec. Okay, so here we are at the sewing machine, and I am again going to stitch along this side. Let me move my hands over here. Well, I'm going to attempt to through a camera. Yay! So we're going to go along this side right here, okay? And before we stitch this line, we're going to check this one, okay? And when you go to sew the other line, I'll show you when I start here. So let me go ahead and get this one started. Now, if you notice, my pin's a little bit in the way, so I'm going to go ahead and pull that one out. Now, it's very important when you do this, guys, that you do not tug, pull, stretch. We are sewing along the bias, and you can stretch it out. Now, if you see I've got a little bump right here, I don't know how easy it is for you to see that, but it's because it caught my seam guide. So you want to make sure you do stay flat. And all we're doing is stitching right, I'm stitching right next to the line on this side of it, okay? Now I'm coming up on this pin. I'm going to leave it, just see how far I can get. No, it's going to go all the way, so I'm just going to leave it. And we come up to the end. I'm going to go ahead and start another one. And before I cut and show you how to check yourself. Now, this one I haven't sewn the corner to corner yet, but I'm going to pretend like I did and pray for the best. So we're going to flip it over here, and I'll tell you why. See the angle? This way, if I did it the other way, it's in the way, okay? I got all this over here. They're going to contend with each other. So I'm just going to, it doesn't matter which way you sew it. Like I said, typically I would sew this line first but I want to show you that pin's going to be in the way. All right. So now I'm going to stitch this outer line towards the center. Okay. Now that's definitely not going to play nice. So I'm going to go ahead and pull it. And again, I'm going to pray for the best. Normally the other line is already stitched, but I just wanted to show you. So you don't need to watch me sew the whole thing again. So I'm just getting it started so I can pull that first block off to show you how to check. So I will see you guys back at the cutting board in just a sec. Okay, so here is the square that we just sewed. I went ahead and took out the 1 or 2 pins that were in here, but I left these ones because remember, I haven't sewn this line yet. Okay, so I kind of want to keep everything placed, even though this is going to help anchor it. I just want to keep things the way they are, just in case. Okay, so what I mean by checking, at this point, I go ahead and we flip this piece over. Now, what you're checking for is to be sure that whenever this gets pressed over, that it will in fact meet the 10.5-inch line, because remember, this is a 10.5-inch square. If it is short, okay, you'll want to rip it. You can't let it be short. If it's too long, if it was too long, you can always cut it back down to 10.5 inches. That is fine. However, this is why I suggested to sew on this side of the line, because when we go to fold this fabric over, there's going to be bulk in here at that seam, and it takes up some of the fabric. So if you stitch on the line, you run the risk of being short. Okay, so that's why I say to stitch on closest to the side that you're going to cut. This is the side we're going to cut, which I'm going to show you here in just a second. So that's why we sewed here. Now, at this point, I know it's good. So I'm going to go back to the sewing machine and I'm going to sew along this line, but on the side towards the center. Okay? Right along here. And then after I get both of them sewn, I will mark up another square, wrong side. I will mark on the wrong side those 2 lines, 1/2 inch apart, place it, pin it, and keep this one, just don't even worry about it. Just make sure you keep it out of the way, okay? And I will go ahead and sew those 2 lines. I've already done that. So we're going to pretend through video. Whoop, whoop. Okay, so as you can see, I have one here where I have sewn both sides, okay? So now we're going to get, and I've already checked it, because remember, I'm checking as I go to make sure that this is going to work. Man, bling is everywhere, guys. All right, this is blingy. This project is blingy. Okay, so I'm going to grab my ruler. And like I said, I will figure out lighting here eventually, so bear with me. Now, on Creative Grid rulers, and I'm sure a lot of rulers, they have that 1/4 inch line that is dotted. I'm actually going to cut in between these 2 seams, okay? So what I do is I line up my 1/4 inch line along the drawn line. So basically corner to corner. And I'm just going to take my rotary cutter and I'm going to go ahead and cut and pull, okay? And you'll do that for both sides. Now notice I'm going to move this one out of the way because I want to be sure that I don't clip anything I'm not supposed to. Okay, because that means you got to make a whole nother block. All right, line up that 1/4 inch line along that drawn line, and then I'm just going to cut and pull it away. Okay, now before I move on to pressing, I want to show you what these get you. So on the white ones, we've already sewn this, and it's going to give you a 1/2 square here, let me move this out of the way. A 1/2 square triangle, okay, with white on this side, red on this side, and this cute little half square. Super cute. So you'll get 2 of those for every block. And on the white, they will be on the white side, okay? On the red, you have red on one side and white on the other with a little red splash of color. And because we've already sewn them together, all we have to do is trim them up and press them pretty. And I'll show you at the end of the video some ideas that you could do with this. But I mean, how super darling cute is this, right? How cute. All right. I keep playing with it because I just love, 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 love these extra half square triangles with this little accent in here. And they're already sewn. I just have to press and trim. Super love that. All right, but we'll talk about that at the end of the video. Going back here, now let's talk about some pressing. Now I've got a couple of blocks here that I've already sewn together and I've already pressed them. So on the ones with the 7-inch white squares or the white in the middle, remember in the middle when it was white, we pressed going out. Well, you're going to keep doing that. White in the middle, press the triangles out, okay? And you can be reminded which way to, oh, that's going to be fun. You can be reminded which way to go when you look at the back before you press. These should measure again at 10.5 inches. So be sure that you are getting 10.5 inches on your squares. Now remember, we're making 2 white centers and 2 red centers, right? And the red centers get the 7-inch squares on the side to do your triangle. And when you press these, if you remember, we pressed going in on the red, so towards the dark. You're going to do the same thing. Keep it consistent. And I pressed going towards the center with these squares. All right, so now after you make sure that everything is 10.5 inch squared and everything is pressed and pretty, the next step is, it just keeps getting more and more fun, guys. More and more fun. You're going to take a ruler, and it's got to be able to stretch across the test of time, all the way from corner to corner, and you're going to line this up. Now, what I want to tell you, what's very important, you have these, I'm going to use it on white. I think it'll be more clear. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. You have these little points where your little corners meet, right? What's more important is that you line up, make sure I can get you in the screen. Okay. At the corner. So when your blade runs, it's going to hit the corner. So if you put your ruler right on the corner, you're going to miss that with your rotary blade. Okay. So you want to make sure you go just slightly over so that when your rotary blade comes along, that you will hit those points on those corners. Okay. That is the most important. Some of your triangles may be off a little bit on the tops and the bottoms. That's okay if it's off a little bit. What's most important, again, is hitting these corners. And I hope I can see this because I'm at a strange angle. But you're just, I know this makes everybody nervous, right? But it's going to be okay. You're going to take it and you're going to cut right down the middle. And what you will have, uh-oh, I didn't get all the way through. Oh, okay, there we go. What you will have is 2 triangles, basically, with, I don't know, trapezoids coming in the middle. All right, and as you can see, you'll have also 4 diamonds. Okay, now you'll have a total of 4 blocks that we're doing this to. 2 whites and 2 reds. Okay. Now I've already got some cut because what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what we do. So we've got 2 whites. Once we cut, we'll have 4 whites, but this is what your reds are going to look like. Okay. The red was together. I cut it down the middle. I get 4 white diamonds and 4, I don't know, trapezoids with triangles. Okay. Now we're going to take these and we're going to sew them together like so. All right. Now, I will be honest, I do pin here. So I'm going to bring you through it. You're going to take one of each color, and because of the way we've been pressing, okay, you're going to be able to nest some seams, okay? So you're going to take one of your sides, and you're going to flip it over on top, get them all lined up, and if you'll notice, this seam is going out, these ones are going in, okay? So you're going to be able to nest those seams. Now I do pin here. Make sure those seams are flush. I pin on each side of my seam. Now they're at a little bit of a diagonal because of the construction of the block, but they still do nest. I just hit myself with a pin. I was making sure I wasn't bleeding. Don't want to bleed on a quilt. That's even worse. So I hit my seams first because those to me are the most important parts. And then I pin one in the middle because it's kind of long. And I know I'm going to start up here. So I'm going to go ahead and pin on the end. Okay. And when I start here, I'll make sure these two, and you can always anchor it. And then once you get it started, you can pull your pin out. All right. But what you're going to do at this point, you're going to go ahead and sew your 1/4 inch seam. Okay. Right along here. When you do that, you're going to get what we talked about at the beginning, this beautiful square. Now, what I want to share with you, this should measure. I don't know why I like it this way. It's just a preference. When you measure, this should come out. I know it's going to sound really odd. I fought with it in my head for a while, and then it dawned on me, we're cutting a triangle and sewing on the 1/4 inch of a triangle. This actually finishes at 10 and an eighth, okay? Now what I want to talk about is to check it, okay? You're going to line up along this diagonal, okay? Now you want to press it first to be, that helps to be sure how this is going to lay out. But you want to line it up along the diagonal, and you want to make sure that you're at 10 and an eighth. Okay, this is your diagonal. Now, could you cut it down to 10? Absolutely. I'm not, and I'll tell you why. I'm grabbing another ruler here because I'm going to show you something. I get a little nervous about shaving this off, these diamonds, and then the points won't nest. So it makes me a little bit nervous. So I'm just going to leave it at 10 and an eighth and be happy with it. So all the math that I've done is leaving this, okay? But let's say you did want to find the center. Now this took me a couple hours to figure out, so I'll share it with you. If you wanted to find the center, you open it up, and you're gonna, well, I need a longer ruler. Okay. What this measures from point to point, from this point to that point, is 14 and a quarter. Okay, so I line it up around that seam, and it lines up about 14 and a quarter. If I wanted to find, well, actually I wouldn't even do it this way. I just wanted to show you that. I will line it up. Now, I will press all of these towards the dark side, okay? If you line it up where your white is showing, okay? So the white's down on this side, and you line it up point to point. It's about 4 1/4. Half of that is 7/8. So I'd put a little point at 7/8. Okay, I know you can't see it, but I can. Make sure that was where it was. Yep, okay. That's my center. If you were going to cut it down to 10 inches, now you know exactly where center's at. I happen to have a perfect 10 ruler. If you don't, you can use your other ruler. But this is a perfect 10 ruler. I would line up, see this little, this is your center. Okay, it's 5 inches by 5 inches. I'd find that point. Well, I'd turn it so the diagonal is in there. Line up on that point. And I would cut this down to 10 inches. But like I said, it really worries me to cut anything away because I don't want to miss out. You shouldn't, truly, if you find the center and you cut around it, you should be fine, okay? It's just my own preference. I'm going to leave it at 10 1/8 because at this point it doesn't even matter what size it is because now we're just going to start sewing these things together. But I wanted to show you, and I hate that glare. I promise you guys I'll be figuring out lighting soon. But like I said, it's a transition. But you would line up along here. You'd find your center, line up your diagonal for 10 inches, find the center, and cut around to get your 10 inches, okay? Like I said, though, I'm leaving mine at 10 1/8. Now, we've started with 4, 2 reds in the center, 2 whites in the center. So once you have them all together, you're going to start. Now I'm going to pull you out to a design board here in a second because you're not able to see all of this. However, you can already start to see, you want to make sure they're alternating. So what I mean by that is, I mean, you could do this. It's totally up to you, but I've alternated mine. So I've got white, red, white. That's not going to, I mean, 2 reds in a row. I want them to be red, white, red, white, red, right? Right? So I'm going to line those up. Get the next one. Make sure it's spun correctly. All right. And the last one. What do we have here? We have a 4 patch. Okay. So I will sew these 2 together and press towards this dark triangle. We sew these 2 together. I'm going to press towards this dark triangle. So when I sew the whole thing together, these will nest. Okay. So we have simple 4 patches to sew together to get our beautiful Hunter Star. Now, like I said, this is a small area. I'm going to take you next to my design board, and I'll talk about putting the rest of the quilt together. So I'll see you guys in just a sec. Okay, so here we are. Listen, guys, I'm in the room without any electricity from the electrical storm because we still have yet to build a new design wall, which after I'm done with this video, Eric is doing for us. So I did a gray background instead of the green. And the next time you see my design board, I won't be in this room. So I apologize if the lighting is a little off, but that's why I'm sitting here at 9:30 at night. Yes, I've been sewing up a storm. You know how we are. And trying to get this prepped for you. And so here I am in this room. It's a little echoey. Don't know if you can hear it, but it is a little echoey. The lighting's a little off, and I'm still at the green board. However, next time we meet, the design board will be down in the sewing studio. So looking forward to that. Okay, enough of that. Here we are. Why I really wanted to bring you in up to the design board was because I told y'all that we were sewing 4 patches. Okay, so here's 1 block, here's 2, here's 3, here's 4. It was a 4 patch, right? And I said, you make all your 4 patches. Well, when you get them all laid out, what do you notice? It is now a 9 patch. I'm telling you what, sewing these together went a heck of a lot faster than all of the prep. So once you're at that point where you're starting to put your 4 patches together, now you're at the 9 patch. I'm telling y'all, it's smooth sailing, okay? Now, y'all know I don't like long seams. So normally with a 9 patch, you might sew these 3 together, these 3 together, then these 3 together, and then you sew your rows together. Yeah, look at those long seams. I ain't in it, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm gonna sew these 4 together. So this one, this one, this one, and this one, all these 4 together, these 2 together. I'll attach this one, these 2 together, these 2 together, and then I'll have only 1 long seam. Yeah, it sounds a little crazy, but I do not like long seams that much that I will analyze a quilt any day of the week to try to figure out how to avoid long seams. There's always going to be at least one. So my one will be right here. Okay. But I wanted to show you this because once you reach this point, oh, when you're starting to build your 4 patches, you are in the motion of being almost done. You can start to do the happy dance. When you're at this point, you got 8 stitches left. 8 stitches. Whew. I'm telling y'all, 9:30 at night. I'm a little crazy. I'm excited about 8 stitches. Okay. Now, I also wanted to talk about one other thing, and it's, I have them all over here. It's all those half square triangles that we made, okay? There's 72 of them. That's like a whole nother quilt, guys. I think comfortably you can get 6 1/4 size blocks. Now, I didn't press them all because I'm not really quite sure what I'm going to do. I have a couple ideas, but I wanted to do something here for just a second. So I'm gonna pull these ones down because after I get off with you, I'm gonna go ahead and sew all of these blocks together. And I'll meet you at the end with a finished topper. Now, of course, you can do a border. I am not a border girl. I don't typically do borders. So I don't know that I will. But I'm gonna leave this up for just a second and we're gonna pretend, because you couldn't see the top of the quilt, we're gonna pretend that this is the top, okay? And one of the ideas that I came up with, so I pressed some of these. I did not cut any of them. I didn't trim any of them. I just kind of measured. But one of the ideas I had, I think you have just enough, or no, you do. You have enough plus some to do a border if you wanted to with your half square triangles, okay? You could simply, now you'll have to do some math because it will be a little extra. All right. Put that over here for now. I just want to hang these up for a second. And there's a lot of ways that you could do this. I'm just putting them up here to win it. I'm in it to win it with you, okay? I kind of like, it'll take a couple of them. Now, I personally am thinking of doing a table runner. But I'm going to show you one other thing once I'm done with these. So we need a red. Okay. And then we need a white. But you could do a border if you wanted to with these blocks. And like I said, there's a million ways that you can use these half square triangles. That's just one. Something don't look right to me. Maybe it's more like, oh yeah, here we go. I like this way better. If I'm gonna do it, we're gonna do this right. Okay. And then this one, well, you know, then I just keep fussing with it. So I'm just gonna leave it for now. But you can do an entire border of these. I don't know that I'd like that. I'm looking at it. Okay, so like this one needs to be turned because we've got, I'm noticing in the video, it's always nice to look at pictures. This is why you do it. We've got kind of a zigzag going. Of course, I disrupted it. Yep. Okay. Is it this way? No. Is it this way? This is a whole lot of fun. Right? Oh, there we go. Okay. But you'd have to do some math on how big you'd want to cut these because they will require a different size than 6 1/4. And oh, that still isn't right. I think I'm thinking y'all do get the gist. Oh, that's too fun. Oh, wait. Oh, I think I got it, guys. Here we go. How about this? Is that right? It's close. This one's not right now, but I'm thinking you get the gist. You could do a very large looking, what do we call this? Zigzag looking thing. It's getting there. You'd have to play with it. And that's the fun of these blocks, okay? So anyway, the point is, if you wanted to put a border and you wanted to use them, there are different ways. You can also just put one on the end. I think I would personally, if I were going to put, you know, like cornerstones, I do have a fabric that I would use, and I'll talk about it in the Facebook Live. But you could definitely do just cornerstones, put a border in the middle, make this super easy. You don't even need that one, okay? Do on the bottom also. You could definitely do something like that. Yeah, you could. Now, like I said, I'm thinking about a couple of 72 of them. You could also do, I'm gonna pull these all down. You could also do pinwheels. I mean, you've got 72 at 6 1/4 minimum, okay? That's a lot of fabric. You could mix and match it with another fabric and other blocks. But I wanted to show you, it is a half square triangle. So anything that you can do with a half square triangle. Now, I always have to think about this, guys. Let's see if I can do it the first time. Okay. All right. I got a pen in my hand. Let's see. There we go. Oh, wait. We want to put this one over here because it's white. I'm looking at the accents. There we go. I think I did it right the first. I always have to think about pinwheels. Okay. Yes. So you could do an entire quilt with pinwheels. So let me go ahead and build another one. I don't want to do it like that though. Here, let's make this a pinwheel. Let's see. See, I got to think about it. Nope, that's not right. That's not right. That's not right. That's not right. It's got to be this way. Okay. That's red. I even got the wrong one. Okay. So we're going to do it like so. And then, oh, that won't work like that. We'd have to do it different. Okay. I was hoping I could do them side by side, but that's not looking good. So the bottom line is, you could do pinwheels in your quilt. You could do pinwheels in your table runner. And you're going to get more than one table runner if that is what floats your boat, okay? No, that's not right. That's not right. There we go. All right. That's pretty close. So you could do pinwheels inside, and I love this little accent, right? You could do that. I'm actually personally thinking of doing some kind of a stripe. So like so, and then we go this way. Nope, that would be a diagonal. I don't want a diagonal. I want a stripe. So there we go. You could actually, I mean, I'm not lining these up with the right colors for the centers, because I'd pay attention to the colors that you have. But you could do an entire quilt with stripes, I mean, or a table runner. Now it'll take more than 2. You might have to do 3 to get a nice sized table runner. Even 4 might work. 4 deep may work really well. There are so many things. You are not going to waste fabric. You are getting basically 2 quilts out of making 1. It's a bonus, because 6 3/4 half square triangles, man, there's a lot you can do with that. So on Facebook Live, I should tell you today by 3 p.m. what I've decided to do with these. We will see if I figure it out. I don't want to do a border, but if I do on Facebook Live today, I will share the fabric, because I might do it here in a bit. When I go back to the table for the ending, I am going to show you the backing that I'm going to use. I think it might even make a really cute border if in fact you were wanting to do a border with it. I typically don't do borders though. I'm not a border girl. So we will see. I'm going to get off here. I'm going to go sew my 9 patch together with minimal long sleeves. I hope this was helpful for you, but I will see you guys with my finished 9 patch, my finished topper in just a sec. Whew! Yes, she is done. She is finished as a topper. I'm still waiting on one part for my long arm, because y'all know, for those of you who are new, my house was struck by lightning and I lost everything electronic in my sewing studio. So I'm waiting on one more part for that long arm, and then I'm going to get all my toppers done. Got some robotics this time. So somebody to help me, quote unquote, right? So, but she is finished, and I'm telling you, this was a lot of fun. And if it might seem like a challenge to you, take it. But what I would encourage you to do is do a test run, making 1 or 2 blocks, okay? Now remember, it takes 4 to get the star. So if you only did 2, it's going to be half of that, okay? You're only going to see half the star, but you'll get an idea of whether or not it's something that you are interested in doing. Now I will tell you, as you keep going, you will get better. Everything seems to get better. So it might, I mean, even for me, at the beginning, it was kind of, what am I doing here? How am I doing this? But by the end of it, I didn't even have to square my blocks at the end. Okay, they were coming out at 10 1/8 on the nose by the end of it. So, I mean, more than the end, probably about halfway, they were coming out right on point. So it's one of those things that if you're going to challenge yourself, this would be a great, it's not that hard. It's just, there's a lot of cutting and a lot of sewing and pressing on the bias, right? That big cut that I did down the middle that I showed you, that is on that bias. And when you're sewing the 2 blocks back together, you're sewing along that bias. So you really got to be careful. And when you press things, you need to be careful. If you're pressing on angles, you know, when we did the big 7-inch square and we went to press it, it's on that flip and stitches. Yes, it's stitched, but you don't want to push too hard. Your pressing needs to be on board, okay? Don't do a lot of squiggy squatchy. You know, make sure that you're pressing, not ironing, not squiggling, and be careful when you're sewing that bias. But it is fun, and it's really not hard. It's just intense, right? And I did tell you guys I would think of what I'm going to do. I'm thinking with these, I'm actually going to make a table runner. Okay. I really want one in this colorway. I think it'd be really cool to put on my table. I'm a red, white, and blue girl. So of course my dining room is red, white, and blue, and my living room is red, white, and blue. I think there's only 2 rooms, but it's a lot. I love red, white, and blue. So I think this would be a really nice table runner. So I think that's what I'm going to do. More to come when I get it done on that. All right. And I would share with you what I'm going to use for the backing. I'm going to use, of course, you can find this in my shop too. It comes from the same line as the red. So it comes from Scarlet Stitches and White Linen from Henry Glass & Co. It's butterflies on a white background. And there are some flowers in here too. But it matches. It's part of this collection of the red. And because I have soft white butterflies, tone-on-tone butterflies, I wanted to add some butterflies to the back. And I think this would be really, really pretty. So that's what I'm going to put on the back. I thought I'd share that just to give you some ideas. But I hope this was inspiring. And don't forget to grab your coloring sheet, the supply list if you're interested. And yeah, if you make this, I'd love for you to share. Best way to share is inside our group. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, suggestions, drop them down in the link below, or down in the comment section below. And of course, as usual, I will be here today at 3 p.m. Not here, but on Facebook Live at 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, because I'm here in Virginia. For any live questions and answers, we call it live quilting and answer session. I'll be there for you if you want to ask any questions, make any suggestions, comments live. I will be there to visit with you about the Hunter Star. So hope to see you there. I want to wish each of you a happy National Sewing Month. This is September and it is National Sewing Month, so happy Sewing Month to you. If you are part of our newsletter, check your email from last week because I did send out a discount code for our shop. So make sure you check that out. If you're not a subscriber to the Be Inspired newsletter, the link for that is down below. I tend to give discounts for those folks on occasion. And some tips and tricks. The coloring sheets will come all by themselves. They don't have to go get them. Maybe some inspiration. I let them know about new things that are coming out in the shop. Maybe a sale, which, by the way, I do have Hobbs batting on sale on our website. So if you've been sewing away for National Sewing Month, go ahead and I have a few sizes in Hobbs for the sale, so check out the website. Only while supplies last will the sale be going on. But I think that's it, guys. That was a mouthful. I gotta get started on this. Waiting on a long arm for that, so I'm good. But until next time, or until 3 p.m., may you all continue to be inspired, productive, ever so joyful. Never stop believing and never stop making your dreams in quilting come true. I love y'all. Happy Wednesday. Happy quilting.